good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, tonight we've got a series of top stories lined up for you. The biggest of the reports as India unlocks. Today was day one. We will also get you the latest on the cyclonic storm that's building and threatening to hit surrounding areas of Mumbai in the coming days. We will also talk about what's happening in United States. But first up, I want to begin by talking about what was announced in the cabinet meeting today. After the cabinet meeting today, the decisions that have been taken. Now, part of this was actually already announced by the finance minister. Those decisions were ratified by the cabinet today. Let me actually take you to the top 5 announcements made before we listen in to Union Minister Prakash Javadekar. Point number 1, the announcement that was made today was about the MSME definition that has been tweaked. Now, this is being done to ensure more number of companies, more kinds of businesses, even those of a larger size can actually be included in the MSME category so that they can avail the benefits in tough times like this. That's the first announcement which was earlier made. Today it got ratified. The second announcement was about the equity scheme for MSMEs that has now been approved to enable them to raise more funds to function in this time of a slowdown, especially in the light of a pandemic hitting our country. Third thing was the minimum support price that the cabinet has approved for a variety of kharif crops to ensure that some amount of support is also given to the farmers. On the same lines, the government has also approved a farm loan up to 3 lakh with interest of just about 4%. Now remember, already for a large set of farm loans, the government had announced a subsidy intervention, which means basically reducing your interest rate by 2%. So from 9% to 7%. This is a separate announcement that has been made. And the last one was the credit facility scheme that has now been designed and announced for street vendors, who've been badly hit because of the lockdown. A possibility, an opportunity for them to raise or take loan of about 10,000 rupees. Listen in to Prakash Javadekar.
जो एमएसएमई संकट में है उनको इक्विटी सहायता प्रदान करने के लिए अधीनस्थ ऋण के रूप में 20,000 करोड़ रुपए का प्रावधान का प्रस्ताव आज कैबिनेट द्वारा औपचारिक रूप से अनुमोदित किया गया। इससे 2 लाख ऐसे जो संकट में है ऐसे एमएसएमई को फायदा होगा। एमएसएमई के लिए 50,000 करोड़ रुपए के इक्विटी निवेश का प्रस्ताव भी पहली दफा हुआ है। भारत सरकार ने आज एमएसएमई की परिभाषा को और संशोधित किया, क्योंकि जब पैकेज घोषित किया था तो एक संशोधन दिया था, लेकिन आज इकाई की परिभाषा बढ़ाकर 1 करोड़ रुपए के निवेश और 5 करोड़ रुपए का कारोबार कर दिया गया। लघु इकाई की सीमा बढ़ाकर 10 करोड़ रुपए का निवेश और 50 करोड़ रुपए का टर्नओवर कर दिया गया है। इसी प्रकार मध्यम इकाई का निवेश सीमा बढ़ाकर 20 करोड़ रुपए तथा 100 करोड़ की जगह 250 करोड़ रुपए का कारोबार कर दिया गया है। न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य उसकी कुल लागत का 1.5 गुना ज्यादा रखने का अपना वादा सरकार पूरा कर रही है। खरीफ फसल 20-21 के 14 फसलों के सीएसीपी आधारित न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य जारी कर दिया गया है। इन 14 फसलों पर किसानों को अब लागत का 50 से लेकर 83% तक ज्यादा दाम हासिल होगा। सरकार ने बैंकों द्वारा खेती और उससे जुड़े काम धंधों के लिए 3 लाख रुपए तक के अल्पकालिक कर्ज के भुगतान की तिथि भी 31 अगस्त 2020 तक बढ़ाई है और किसानों में इसमें ब्याज की छूट और अदायगी में मोहलत, ये दोनों फायदे उसको मिलेंगे। भारत सरकार द्वारा किसानों को 7% से कर्जा मिलता है। इसमें 3 लाख रुपए तक के लोन पर 2% बैंक ब्याज की छूट सरकार देगी और समय पर भुगतान पर 3% का फायदा मिलेगा। इसका मतलब 4% में 3 लाख तक का कर्जा मिलेगा। किसानों के लिए ये बहुत बड़ी तोहफा है।
Let's move on to the big story of the day, viewers, and it was day one of unlocking India. Yes, day one of the 5th version of a lockdown where a lot more relaxations have come in. Essentially, what we saw today on day one was pretty much a glimpse of a normal life in many cities. Of course, some cities like Mumbai and Pune still continue to see very strict restrictions, but even there was quite a bit of traffic, quite a bit of number of people outside on the roads. For the next several minutes, we're going to get you ground reports, updates from our live reporters. Joining me in this conversation is also our managing editor, Vinay Tewari, to give us an insight into just how India is handling this unlocking of our country and what it really means to learn to live with this coronavirus. But first up, let me go across to Pramod, who's joining us from Chennai. Pramod, Chennai is one of those cities that has been badly hit by coronavirus, especially in the last few weeks. What did you see today? Just, to what extent were there relaxations? Were people following the norms? How many people actually did come out? How many shops opened?
Well, actually, we saw a lot of people on the roads today, and the thing is that, just like you mentioned, when it comes to the number of positive cases in the city, it's definitely high. In fact, for the whole state, it was 1,169. Second day, we are having the highest numbers, that is above 1,000 as well. It is definitely worrisome, and we did put forward all these queries in front of the Greater Chennai City Corporation Commissioner as well, seeking a reply as to so much people are venturing out into Chennai City, even though for Chennai, Chengalpet, Kanchipuram, and Tiruvallur districts, restrictions still continue, unlike other parts of Tamil Nadu. And the reply he could give is that what we see on the road today is actually 40 to 50% of the people traveling. And as per the relaxation that has been provided about people going to work, people going for shopping for food items, essential items, people are outside. And still the Corporation Commissioner said that they are only concentrating on maintaining social distancing and at the same time people wearing masks. So these are the two things they're actually considering about. But at the same time, we saw a lot of crowd on Chennai City, and it was just like any other normal day after 68 days of lockdown. Even though not much relaxations have been provided to the city. For instance, no public transportation is allowed in Chennai City until further notice. But even after that, we did see quite a lot of people on the roads.
Okay, so that was day one as far as Chennai is concerned. Remember, viewers, the lockdown may have been lifted significantly, but the virus hasn't gone away, and a lot of what happens from here on will also be how we deal with it individually and the amount of precautions that we take. Let's go across to Sreeja, who's joining us from Bengaluru. Sreeja, what was the scenario in Bengaluru today?
Well, Tanvi, first of all, let me give you a view of this particular area. The time right now we understand is just about 8 to 5. We see that clearly, even though we just have at least about another 50 minutes to go for the night curfew to come into place, we are continuously seeing people here. Remember, even autos are flying. We're looking at as well two-wheelers as well, and also the four-wheelers. So clearly, it's bustling with activity. In fact, to give you also a clear picture, the place that I'm standing right now here is Kamdali Main Road. Now, this particular zone was in fact declared a containment zone at least about 3 weeks ago. So we're looking at different various kinds of shops that have opened today as well. We are looking at provision stores. We are also talking about in fact the opticals that have opened. There is medical shops that have opened. Also, we're looking at especially just right opposite the side of the road that I'm standing. There is also a bicycle shop, meat shops, essentials. All of these have been opened right today here, and we continuously see people in fact thronging this particular area. Now, this is the very area where we understand it was declared a containment zone, but clearly we see that people are continuously violating the norms. Remember, there was an SOP in place that if you're taking your two-wheeler out, there should not be a pillion rider. But that is not the case, because you continuously see there are pillion riders. There are people, in fact, 3 people traveling on a bike. You can see right over here. And even including, if you're talking about the four-wheelers as well, there are violations, but clearly we do not see that violations being in fact identified by the police officers, despite this was once a containment zone. Now, the reason what we understand as far as the first day is concerned right here is that it's completely buzzing with activity. It is as normal as any other day, and we're continuously looking at where even traffic has in fact brought this particular area to a grinding halt. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Pramod and Sreeja, for joining us. And Sreeja, they're giving us a view really on about the streets of Bengaluru. Remember, the curfew now only hits from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. Earlier, it was from 7 p.m. So we're actually getting to see more people out even at this hour. Let me first go to Vinay before I bring you some more ground reports. Vinay, in many cities, actually, interestingly, on day one itself, we saw quite a bit of bustling activity on the streets as if it was a normal day.
Yes, and it's a 50-50 battle for this country now, Tanvi. And I say 50-50 because 50% of the onus are on us, the citizens, and 50% is on the government, which is a very integral part of how to fight this whole problem. The onus on us is actually to maintain self-discipline, something that we have not used to at all as a nation. And I think on day one we've seen a bit of that. Social distancing as a norm or as a habit is something that Indians still haven't gotten used to. In all the cities where we've seen the bustling crowds in the streets, we've seen multiple violations of social distancing. People aren't exactly following that, and that's something which is a cause for concern. The other half, the 50%, is how the government has prepared itself to handle the rise in the number of cases. Because remember, it was almost expected that as India opens up, there will be a rise in the number of cases. It's a contagious disease for which there is no cure or vaccination as yet, and that we've seen in the last 3 days or so. We've seen record number of rise in the number of cases. Also, as Mira now has been focusing a lot on how the preparedness of the different states is, whether the beds are in adequate number, whether the doctors are in adequate numbers, or whether the isolation centers are in adequate number. So that's the other test. But clearly, this war against corona, or the reality of opening up so that the economy revives, can't really be won unless both half of the 50-50 battle don't play their part. I mean, the governments have not played their part in some states. Neither are the citizens playing their part in many states, Tanvi. And I think that should be one cause for concern for all of us who are tuned into the broadcast and everyone else who gets to hear about this. It's a battle where everyone has to play their part, otherwise we're going to lose it very quickly.
Yes, absolutely, and you're right there, Vinay, that a part of it is also the onus is on us, but a part of it will also be how governments handle it, how they plan it out, how they enable an environment where we can actually follow social distancing while going about doing a part of our regular business. Now, actually, as a case in point, I want to talk about what's happening in NCR, and Vinay, you've been repeatedly pointing this out, that if Delhi government is going to have different rules than the UP government, then the Haryana government, then it becomes very complicated for people who live in the NCR region, because it's highly interconnected. People move from Noida to Delhi to Gurgaon. The airport is in one zone, but people are living in another zone, and so we have to have clear policies as far as the borders are concerned. Unfortunately, on day one, we saw quite a bit of chaos, quite a bit of confusion about whether you can go, cannot go, who can go. Here is a ground report that I want to play out before I go back to Vinay on this angle.
Since 21st April, we have seen how the Gautam Buddha administration had decided that they're not going to allow any car, especially coming from Delhi, to enter Noida. Now, why did it exactly happen in the first place was because of the growing spike in the number of positive cases that Delhi was reporting. And in the last couple of days, we have been seeing some highest number of positive cases being reported from Delhi, going to the tune of over 1,000 cases per day. And that is exactly why, as we stand over here at the Noida-Delhi border, my video journalist Jagbandhu can pan and show you, there are these cars, the traffic congestion and the traffic snarls are going up to a few kilometers for that matter at this particular border, where only those who are working in essential services, those who have the requisite authorized passes, are allowed to enter. Even the Ola, Uber and the local and private taxis are not being allowed unless the passengers have those requisite passes. And right behind me over here on the left is definitely Noida. You can see there are several traffic police who are checking every single detail, every single passes. They say even as lockdown 5.0 is under implementation from today, and with several other restrictions being relaxed, this one particular norm they are going to be very rigid about, that they're going to check only those who are pass holders and those who are working in essential service will be allowed to enter, because Delhi has definitely seen a spike in number of cases, and there are many cases inside Noida that has been traced to Delhi, and that is something because of which both UP government and Delhi government are being very, very cautious about. They're not going to be taking any chances services whatsoever, and they are going to continue with this one restriction until there is further decision taken and this decision is reviewed. But till then, like I can tell you, there are several cars who were sent back over here. Even those cars who are coming from Noida are being warned to stay within Noida unless they are in essential services. So this traffic congestion is a daily routine now, especially during the office hours.
Vinay, you've been repeatedly highlighting this issue that, the three administrations can go in three different directions, that becomes problematic and chaotic for the people living in NCR. And today, I think, is a good example of that kind of a confusion.
Yes, and look what we've done. Till yesterday, it was the UP government via the Ghaziabad and Noida district magistrates, which was not allowing people from Delhi to enter their towns. And today you had the Delhi Chief Minister announcing that he's not going to allow people to enter his town unless you have an essential service pass with you. Look, it's very strange. All through since the 90s, Tanvi, when the Delhi government actually first became a full government, elected government, there has been something called the NCR Planning Board, the National Capital Region Planning Board. That's a defunct body. Nobody meets, nobody talks. There are no members. It's completely finished. You also have an interstate coordination cell, which actually includes all the district police chiefs of all the neighboring towns. And these two bodies were set up by the government precisely for these kind of coordination issues. It was anticipated that there will be coordination issues even earlier when there was no corona worry. Now with the corona issue, and especially with the suburban parts of Delhi booming, Greater Noida is now at least 30 to 40 kilometers from the border of Delhi. This is required even more. And this kind of chaos that you are seeing on the borders repeatedly is something that we could have avoided. All we needed was a contiguous policy. Viruses don't respect jurisdictional boundaries. They don't respect geographical boundary. Virus can travel from one part to the other, irrespective of the government that governs a place. Why we can't get together all the three administrations of the neighboring districts together and come up with one comprehensive regional policy is something that is beyond me. This is after 4 lockdowns, this is the first unlocking phase, and we continue to see the same chaos, Tanvi.
Absolutely, Vinay. In fact, I also want to bring out a report that, one of our correspondents got from Sarojni Nagar, one of those markets in the national capital that has a lot of makeshift shops. There's some permanent, but some temporary shops. And there was quite a bit of confusion about what has to be done and how it has to be done. Just look at this ground report that Prashant got for us.
It's the beginning of Unlock 1.0. Markets have been given permission to open so that economy can be brought back to wheels. But on one hand, while all the markets have been given permission to work with all shops open, irrespective of odd even, there is a section of traders who are facing the brunt even now. These basically are, in Delhi's common use terms, rehdi patri wale shops. But we are standing in Sarojni Nagar market, where majority of the shops that you will find comprises of these people. Now you see, if you look at the entire market, all the shops here are shut. Now, these are not the usual temporary structure shops that you see, but it comprises of a majority of traders here in Sarojni Nagar market, and it's also one of the major markets here that gives you a lot of money to the market also, and they also pay rent to the NDMC. Now, if I can just ask Imran to show you here, these shops have been regularized by the NDMC. They have proper permissions, they have receipt that they pay for rent. But on one hand, while the shops like these, the permanent shops have been given permission to open, these shops, majority of them, they are around 100 in number in this particular market. They haven't been allowed to open yet, and there's no clarity on their future, because even today when the Chief Minister announced opening up of markets, there was no mention of these people. Ashwini ji is with me, he is one of the presidents here. Ashwini ji, क्या प्रॉब्लम है आप लोगों के? कितने दिन से आपका दुकान बंद है और अभी इमीडिएट राहत क्या चाहते हैं?
करीब 2 महीने और 10 दिन हो चुके हैं हमारी दुकान बंद हुए। हमें किसी तरह की कोई भी सरकारी राहत, कोई भी फैसिलिटी नहीं मिली। 4 लॉकडाउन हो चुके हैं। फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन चालू है फिलहाल, लेकिन दुकानें फिर भी बंद हैं। नई गाइडलाइन आ चुकी है, लेकिन तहरेबाजारी के लिए, रेहड़ी पटरी वालों के लिए चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब ने कुछ भी नहीं बोला है कि किस तरह से खोलनी चाहिए, नहीं खोलनी चाहिए। जो इवन और ऑड का सिस्टम था वो भी ख़त्म कर दिया गया है। मार्केट टाइमिंग्स बढ़ा दी गई हैं, लेकिन हमको अभी भी किसी भी प्रकार की कोई राहत नहीं दी गई है।
Well, also what we saw was resumption of bus services in Uttar Pradesh, and while there is a detailed protocol that has been put in place in terms of screening of the passengers, even giving them sanitizers before they board the buses, on day one we didn't see too many people really queue up. Here is a ground report that Siddhant got for us. Let's look at it, and then in fact we will focus a bit more on transport and move to how it was for railways. But first up, this report on buses in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, so UP Roadways have resumed their operations, and today is the first day of operation. I am reporting from Sector 35 bus depot in Gautam Buddha Nagar, and you can see proper thermal screening is taking place here. The temperature is being taken before allowing passenger inside the bus. Now this is the bus which is about to leave, and you can see sanitizers are also being given. They are being sanitized and then being allowed inside the bus. So now this bus is about to leave. कहाँ जा रही है अनुराग जी ये बस?
सर ये बस कासगंज जा रही है।
हाँ।
आज से यूपी की सीमा के अंदर बसों का समस्त ऑपरेशन स्टार्ट कर दिया गया शासन से परमिशन मिलने के बाद। इससे पहले हम लोग श्रमिकों को निःशुल्क भेजते थे, आज से हमारा कमर्शियल ऑपरेशन स्टार्ट हो गया। अभी लोग टिकट के माध्यम से भेजे जाएंगे। बस को कार्यशाला में हम लोग नियमित रूप से सैनिटाइज कराते हैं, उसके बाद उसको बाहर जो है बस स्टेशन पर लाया जाता है। गाइडलाइन का पालन ये किया जा रहा है कि समस्त यात्री जो भी यात्रा करेंगे सभी को मास्क पहनना अनिवार्य होगा। बिना मास्क के किसी को यात्रा नहीं करने दिया जाएगा या उनको रोका जाएगा। आरोग्य सेतु ऐप के लिए भी हमारे परिचालकों को ये बताया गया है कि वो लोग यात्रियों से ये करेंगे कि आरोग्य सेतु ऐप जिनके पास एंड्रॉयड मोबाइल हो वो लोग उसमें इंस्टॉल करके रखें, जिससे कि कोविड-19 से एक सुरक्षा बन सके।
So this is the bus which is leaving for Kasganj. We'll get inside the bus and we'll speak to some of the passengers also. You can see proper social distancing norms are also being followed, and as we have been told that no standing passenger will be allowed inside the bus. Only the number of seats present in the bus, only those number of passengers will be allowed. कासगंज जाना है आपको?
हाँ जी सर।
कितने का टिकट खरीदा?
अभी टिकट नहीं दिया है।
अभी टिकट नहीं दिया। प्रॉपर थर्मल स्क्रीनिंग और की गई है उसके बाद?
हाँ जी।
अच्छा, और तो टिकट कब बोले, टिकट कब देंगे?
टिकट अभी बस में देंगे बोले।
बस में ही टिकट लेंगे? ओके। आज पहला दिन है?
हाँ जी।
कहाँ जा रहे हैं बस लेके?
कासगंज।
कहाँ? प्रॉपर थर्मल स्क्रीनिंग और हुआ है, सब सैनिटाइजर दिया गया आप लोगों?
हाँ जी मिला।
कोई चीज का दिक्कत नहीं?
नहीं।
तो ये पहली गाड़ी निकल रही है या फिर इससे पहले निकल चुकी है कुछ?
नहीं, एक बस निकल चुकी है।
एक बस निकल चुकी है, दूसरी बस निकल
दूसरी
bus. So there you see, these are the arrangements made by UP Roadways, and today is the first day of operations. People are not coming in large number, but yes, the bus service have been started.
In fact, just before we go to railways, I also want to tell you what happened as far as air travel today is concerned. Now, viewers, as you know, for over a week now, we've had air travel operations, though in a very limited fashion between specific airports. Now, DGCA, the aviation regulator, came out with an additional set of guidelines today, and I just want to take you through those guidelines because they now have specified that unless it is absolutely urgent, even drinking water will also not be provided on board. The one important thing that they've said also is safety kits for all passengers, and that the airline should try and keep the middle seat vacant as much as possible. If there is no option and there is somebody that is going to be sitting on the middle seat, then the airlines have to ensure that a special wraparound kind of a robe is actually provided to the passenger who's sitting on that middle seat. Again, reiterating the fact that meals will not be provided on board the aircraft. In fact, even water shouldn't really be provided unless it's a dire circumstance. That is the rule that has been now brought in. So that's all the DGCA says so far. There is actually no announcement yet on ramping up the air operations. But let's talk about the rail operations for a bit, because as you know, starting today, we also have 200 more trains that will be running, the regular passenger trains that will be running across the country. Earlier, we had about 30 pair of them, but now we are seeing a larger set of trains that will be running. The ticket counters have been opened at the railway stations where people can go and book their tickets. And of course, as on day one, we did see a little bit of confusion where many people turned up. They didn't know if this is for the Shramik trains or it's for the regular trains, if they can get a Tatkal ticket or not, which is actually not open right now. So there were quite a few of these people who had gathered at the railway stations without having any clarity on what's the process. While those who already had booked the tickets also turned up at the railway station much in advance, anticipating that it will take time with the screening and the sanitizing for them to get into the railway station and board the trains. So We did see quite a bit of crowd outside railway stations for that reason as well. Now I'll have Alok joining us live on this. Alok, you were through the day tracking this story. I believe you're even now at the Nizamuddin railway station. How was day one for resumption of trains?
Well, yes, absolutely. In fact, there was a little bit confusion at various reservation counter centers that include the New Delhi railway station counter center, where people, three kinds of people, in fact, came there. Those who wanted to get the registration for 200 trains that have started running. Many Shramik Special, those migrants who were confused that whether Shramik Special are running or not, they were also came there to buy the tickets. Apart from that, those people who wanted the refund of their tickets. Remember, before the lockdown, those people who had registered their tickets, they wanted to get the refund and cancel for that cancellation purpose. They came, and many people came to get the Tatkal ticket because that Tatkal was also not at all clear. So this kind of rush that we saw. But right now, Tanvi, I am standing at New Delhi railway station outside the view that I am showing it to you, and here you can see one by one the passengers are going inside because three trains are yet to depart from the platform number 1. This is the way to go to the platform number 1. Here you can see the Railway Protection Force police officials. They are carrying the mic also in their hand, and they are regularly announcing to maintain the social distancing at all. And there you can see these passengers are going. One train around 21.20 means 9:20 around one train that is originating from this place, from New Delhi railway station, that is going to Bangalore. So these passengers, those who are coming, definitely they must be going to to catch that train. Remember, many passengers have to come here. All the passengers have to come 1.5 hours ago before the train to originate and for the screening purpose. From this place, they will go inside and then there will be screening happen to them, and then they will be allowed to go to the platform. So this way, whole process is going on. Tanvi, I just would like to show you one board also here, which is about the train status, the running of the train. Here you can see, so that there could be no confusion could happen. Here you can see the last train is New Delhi Bangalore City, 21.15. So this way that whole process is going on. As of now, there was little bit confusion at the railway reservation counter center, but at the railway platform, we saw in the afternoon also, we went there and we saw there were people who were sitting, they were screened properly, and the whole screening purpose was also happening. So we saw that not much confusion happening at the railway station, but yes, there was confusion happened at the railway counters. Back to you.
All right, Alok, thanks so much for bringing us, that update from the Nizamuddin railway station. Now, before I play out a couple of more reports, just a quick comment from Vinay Tewari as well on this. Vinay, we've seen as far as the Shramik trains are concerned, there was a lot of chaos and confusion, but this is the more organized one. This is where people are going to be booking the tickets in advance, arriving there, and here the big challenge will be to ensure hygiene, cleanliness, as well as social distancing.
Yes, and much like the Indian cricket team, we are good at the start. We're not very good finishers. And my fear is, and in both the reports, the one which we brought from the bus stand where, the regional manager of the UPSRTC was present, the correspondent was around, and there were cameras around, so everything looked fine, and the bus was being sanitized, or at least they were promising it will be done regularly. The trains were in order. I think we need to understand that this is not a battle or a game where you can just afford to start well and not end well. This has to become a habit. It has to happen regularly, and the cleanliness and the distancing and all the other norms in place have to continue. And that's where I have a little bit of an apprehension. It will really, really require a very dedicated, not just administration, but also possibly a very dedicated and disciplined population that we have to follow those norms. I mean, of course, you have a very wide range of people who visit stations, some who are used to following rules, some who may not be so well versed with them and confused about what to do and what not to do. But that's where the real challenge is, because as India opens up and as we unlock ourselves, if we do not follow those norms, we will then look for a very, very serious problem on our hand. And hence, I hope that we've started well, but I hope that we finish well as well, Tanvi.
Absolutely. Vinay, in fact, I just want to also play out one report that we got. Now, Alok was showing us, the situation right now. One more last train for the day perhaps was supposed to leave. But let's also bring a report from the daytime, and this is from the Old Delhi railway station. Like I was mentioning, the passengers actually started to arrive way ahead of time, anticipating that it will take, extra time to go through the entire sanitization and check screening process. This is a report that Sharon got for us.
A number of people who have in fact lined up outside the railway station. Now, according to the new standard operating protocols by the Railway Ministry, the people have to, in fact, the passengers have to reach only 90 minutes before the scheduled departure of their the train timing. But we can see a large number of people have, in fact, gathered outside the station. Before boarding the train, they have to go through a proper thermal scanning. And if they don't have any sort of symptoms, then only they will be allowed to board the train. We have, in fact, a number of them. Sir, आप किस तरफ जा रहे हैं आज?
बिहार जा रहा हूँ।
बिहार जा रहे हैं। यहाँ पे दिल्ली में कहाँ रहते थे?
दिल्ली में वो अभी नेहरू पैलेस में रहते थे।
नेहरू पैलेस क्या करते थे आप यहाँ?
मजदूरी करते थे।
मजदूरी करते थे। कितना लग गया आपको ट्रेन टिकट का?
टिकट का 2200 रुपये लग गया।
क्या?
2200 रुपये लगे।
हाँ। आपने श्रमिक ट्रेन ट्राई करी थी क्या?
नहीं।
नहीं, यही आपने ट्राई करी थी। कितना टाइम लग गया ट्राई?
ये ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगा था, मुझे बस 2-3 दिन लगे थे।
आज कितने बजे की ट्रेन है?
आज मेरी 5:45 की ट्रेन है, 4:45 की।
काफ़ी जल्दी पहुँच गए स्टेशन।
तो हम लोगों को सोचे कि कहीं गाड़ी वाड़ी नहीं मिलेगी, भीड़ भाड़ कम, इस वजह से हम लोग पहले पहुँचे गए।
कितने आप सब एक साथ हैं?
3 है बस।
Well, today was only day one, viewers, of unlocking India. We have to remain cautious. We have to be careful, and let's see how this goes from here. Like Vinay was pointing out, it shouldn't be that while we started off great, we end up in a bad state. So we must keep in mind that even the restrictions are going away from our cities and our lives, the virus isn't. And it is up to us to ensure that we maintain absolute safety and security for ourselves and for our close family members. Vinay Tewari, thank you so much for joining us on this round of special reports. I'm going to take a very short break. On the other side, we get you all the updates of the cyclone that now seems to be building up for Maharashtra and Gujarat. Stay with me. Welcome back, viewers. Well, we have another challenge fast coming up for the state of Maharashtra and Gujarat, and that's the Cyclone Nisarga. A series of warnings have been issued by the Met Department. Both the state authorities have gone into an preparation mode right now to ensure that we are able to tackle whatever impact is there. So we've decided to get you all the details right now so far of what we know. Now, Cyclone Nisarga is likely to turn into a cyclonic storm into the early hours of tomorrow. It is expected to cross Maharashtra and Gujarat coasts on June 3rd. In fact, by June 3rd evening, it is likely to convert into a severe cyclonic storm. Experts say it won't be as bad as Cyclone Ampan, which we saw on the other side of the country's coastline, but it is going to be a severe cyclonic storm, and it is likely to make a landfall very close to Mumbai, so which is why authorities need to be on guard and on alert. By June 4th, it is likely to weaken in the second half, but the Met Department has already sounded off a red alert for Mumbai and surrounding areas. In fact, Santhya has been tracking that story for us. Let's go across to her, to Santhya, to get you the latest. What's the kind of preparation, Santhya, that we are seeing in Mumbai? What are we expecting? And, what's the alert that's been sounded off specifically for the city?
See, Tanvi, if we talk about red alert, till yesterday, the red alert was only for Palghar region of Maharashtra. Now, what's a red alert? A red alert is a category where extremely heavy rainfall is expected in isolated parts of a region. Till yesterday, it was only for Palghar region, but by today evening, IMD has put 6 more regions of Maharashtra under that red alert category. Now, along with Palghar, Mumbai, Thane, Raigad, Nashik, Dhule and Nandurbar. These areas are also going to fall under red alert category for 3rd of June, which means all these areas are likely to witness extremely heavy rainfall in some isolated parts of these regions. Apart from that, keeping the red alert in mind, 9 NDRF teams are deployed in different regions of Maharashtra. 3 NDRF teams are in Mumbai, 2 are in Palghar, and 1 in Ratnagiri, 1 in Sindhudurg, 1 in Thane, and 1 in Raigad, respectively. All these teams are there. Total 9 teams of NDRF are there. Now, what's going to happen? What's expected is, if what kind of warnings, apart from rain warnings are there, heavy wind warnings are there. So for the north coastal zone of Maharashtra, which includes areas like Mumbai, Raigad, Thane and Palghar, the wind speed is likely to be 105 km to 115 km per hour, gusting over 125 km per hour. That's that one thing which IMD has warned people against. Apart from that, fishermen community is warned to not to venture into the sea. The location of this depression, it all started with this low pressure area which was formed in Arabian Sea. By today morning at around 5:30, this depression was formed. At that time, its location was 370 southwest of Panjim, Goa. By tomorrow, it's likely to convert into a cyclonic storm. And as you rightly mentioned, by 3rd of June, it's going to pass the north coastal line of Maharashtra and south coastal line of Gujarat. Now, it's going to pass from the area which this landfall is going to cross is likely to be from Harihareshwar in Maharashtra's Raigad district to Daman and Div. And at that time, this is 3rd June afternoon, and at that time heavy rainfall and heavy winds are some of the forecasts which are done by IMD. But as of now, if we talk about preparations, NDRF teams are of course on standby mode. They are there deployed. Some teams are deployed, some are on standby mode. But BMC is yet to clarify what kind of preparations BMC has done in order to ensure that this heavy wind and heavy rainfall doesn't cause any damage to the city. As of now, no word from BMC Tanvi on the preparations. Tanvi.
Okay, all right. So we're going to keep a close track of that, and what the BMC really has to say tomorrow is going to be extremely crucial. But let's get a sense of and a better understanding of how the cyclonic storm is developing and what could possibly be its impact. Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, DG of IMD, is with us this evening. Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra, for joining us. Can you help our viewers understand just what are we talking about? How serious could it get?
The depression which is formed over the southeast and east central Arabian Sea in the morning has moved northward. And in the evening today, it is located over east central Arabian Sea, about 570 kilometers south-southwest of Mumbai. It is continuing its northward movement, and it will continue so till noon of tomorrow. Thereafter, it will change its direction and will move north-northeastwards towards North Maharashtra and South Gujarat coast. And we are expecting that it will intensify into a cyclone tomorrow, and by 3rd, it may become a severe cyclonic storm, and it will cross North Maharashtra and adjoining South Gujarat coast as a severe cyclone storm with a wind speed of 90 to 105 kilometers per hour, gusting to 115 kilometers per hour. This maximum wind speed is expected over Raigad, Thane, Palghar and Mumbai of Maharashtra at the time of landfall. That means in the afternoon of 3rd. Under the influence of this particular system, the sea condition is very rough. It is gradually becoming more rough also. So therefore, fishermen have been continuously advised not to venture into sea. Fishing operations should be stopped completely. Nobody should go either small ships or the boats, etc., or even any ships also should not go into that particular area. So all the entire coast, starting from Lakshadweep, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Goa, Gujarat, have been advised for the fishermen not to venture into sea. Those who are in the sea, they should immediately come back to the shore, and they should avoid this disturbed area. The wind speed, what we informed, that 90 to 105 gusting to 115 kilometers per hour, it may cause damage to thatched houses. The rooftop of the thatched houses may be blown off. There can be uprooting of trees, breaking of tree branches. There can be partial damage to telephone poles and electric poles. And also, there will be heavy to very heavy rainfall and isolated places, extremely heavy rainfall in these districts of Maharashtra. In addition to that, also we are expecting heavy to very heavy rainfall in adjoining South Gujarat districts like Valsad and Dang and also Surat, etc. And the red color, whatever we show, that is combination of the impact expected because of this heavy rain and the winds. And we are continuously monitoring it. The maximum impact is expected over Maharashtra coast, and impact will be relatively less over South Gujarat coast. But still then, we are expecting wind speed of 80 to 90 kmph over Valsad and adjoining districts of South Gujarat at the time of landfall.
Okay. Dr. Mohapatra, you know, there's a lot that is being said by many experts because usually we don't see these kind of, depressions and movement on this side of our coastline or in the Arabian Sea. There are some who are saying that this is perhaps the strongest and the most severe that we've seen in over a century. Now, while I know that, a lot of this can change within the next 36 hours by the time it's supposed to likely to hit Mumbai and nearby areas. Can you help us understand the intensity in those layman terms? What does it mean, is there an example from the past, from our historic storms that we can give to say, okay, this is the kind of cyclone that we should prepare for?
It is a severe cyclone storm with a wind speed of 90 to 115 kilometers per hour. And if you see in the recent history, there was a cyclone fan in 2009. It crossed Maharashtra coast nearby to Alibag. And it was just a cyclone storm with a wind speed of about 80 to 90 kmph. So it will be stronger than cyclone fan, but it is not a very severe cyclone storm. It is a severe cyclone storm. So as I told, with this type of severe cyclone storm, which has been noticed in the past also in this area, though not frequent, it can cause the structural damages due to the breaking or uprooting of trees, and also there can be damage to thatched houses, kacha houses, asbestos houses, tin houses. There can be impact in terms of hoardings in the townships and cities, etc. And also there can be a damage to the standing crops and horticulture crops like banana, papaya, etc. because of the winds and also rainfall. As we are expecting the heavy to very heavy rainfall and some places extremely heavy rainfall, there can be inundation in low-lying areas in these coastal districts, especially the cities and towns they should take care of because of this heavy rainfall. And there will be combined impact because heavy rainfall and wind will occur at the same time. And this will occur maximum on 3rd June. Even though now also we are expecting rainfall in South Konkan and some rainfall is there already in North Konkan also, but the intensity of rainfall will be maximum on 3rd June. Wind also will be maximum on 3rd June only.
Okay, that helps a lot. I really appreciate, you joining us and giving us those insights. So yes, we should brace ourselves. The fishermen are not, have been advised to not go out at all, venture into the sea at all right now. And there may be some damage as far as the trees or electric poles or even hoardings are concerned. Of course, because we are expecting heavy to very heavy rainfall, usually that comes with its own set of challenges for the city of Mumbai. So I think the Mumbaikars know what to expect as far as that is concerned. Dr. Mohapatra, thank you so much for speaking with us. Of course, we will keep in touch with you over the next 48 to 36 hours at least to see how this is progressing. But thank you for speaking to us and helping us understand this. I just want to bring out one more ground report that one of our reporters got for us. Now, it's not just about the fact that this, the cyclone is building, but because there has been a warning for heavy and very heavy rainfall, and any which ways the monsoon season is approaching as far as Mumbai is concerned, people have begun their preparations and the civic body work is also on in full swing. Now, you have to keep in mind that for the longest time, there was a complete halt on operations, even for the civic body in this kind of work. But they did give some leeway a few weeks ago, keeping in mind that the city has to prepare itself for monsoons and some amount of that work has to be done. Here is a report that Kajal got for us. Take a look.
Mumbai woke up to a rainy 1st of June, and this is also the first day of the unlockdown, and you can see that people are struggling right now to get monsoon supplies. This shop selling tarpaulin sheets and plastic covers is facing an unusual crowd. Now, these items were allowed in the previous notification itself as essential services for Mumbai. Any rain-related products were deemed as essential services, and you can see that the shopkeeper there is trying to explain to people to maintain social distancing while they are standing so that the queue does not become problematic. So these shops like these on the western suburbs in Mumbai are seeing a lot of queue, and because of this they are trying to you can see that he's downing the shutters so that he can control the crowd. So this is the kind of situation that we are seeing here right now. Mumbaikars struggling to get ready for the monsoons during the pandemic.
Well, let's move on and get you the other big international story that we've been tracking very closely, and that's the set of protests that have been taking place in United States of America. And this is after the death of George Floyd due to police brutality. For the last 4 to 5 days, we've seen series of protests break out across the country and take a very, very ugly turn, at least in the last 2 days. There's been widespread rioting, breaking of stores, setting buildings on fire. We also saw a clash take place outside the White House. The National Guard has been brought in many places, as well as the fact that many of the big cities are now under curfew, though there has been a bit of a struggle in implementing this curfew because the protests aren't dying out and people are not willing to relent at this point of time. Let's in fact get you the latest. Mark Fisher, senior editor of the Washington Post, is joining us right now. Mark, good morning to you and thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin with what is the latest status right now in Washington?
Well, right now it's calm and quiet because it's daytime. What happens is that crowds gather during the day, tensions begin to simmer, and then as soon as we have nightfall, the violence begins, the rioting begins. And so we're seeing that pattern again and again in many American cities, including here in Washington. It seems to be random violence, destruction of property, destruction of stores. It's really kind of an outbreak of anger. What we're seeing, I think, generally is a pent-up energy, pent-up frustration because of the coronavirus. People have spent months indoors. They've seen the economy paralyzed. And so there's this tremendous frustration. The trigger, as you mentioned, was the death of the black man at the hands of a white police officer in Minneapolis. But I think what's going on here is a much larger kind of explosion of energy and emotion stemming partly because of the coronavirus lockdown and its economic impact, and partly because of the president's inability to empathize with people on the streets.
Yes, in fact, let's talk about the president just for a bit, Mark. We're given to understand that the US president was actually shifted to an underground bunker for roughly about an hour before he was brought back. This is as people began to, really gather in huge numbers, and the scenes turned ugly outside the White House. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, the area right around the White House, these are open urban streets, and so you had crowds coming and setting fires, pushing up against police. It became a very intense, tense situation on Friday, again throughout the weekend as well. And on Friday night, as you mentioned, the Secret Service, which protects the president, felt that the crowd was energetic and violent enough that the president perhaps face some danger, and therefore they ushered the president and his family into an underground bunker underneath the White House for a short time on Friday evening. The president was never in any danger, and the Secret Service was able to maintain a barricade around the White House, but there have been numerous attempts by the crowd to break through there to get closer to the White House. So there was serious concern there about his safety for a short time. But I think the larger point here is that you're seeing an inability on the part of police to stop these protests, which are devolving into violent riots in city after city. This is not the kind of situation where you're seeing peaceful protests that somehow are co-opted by a small minority that's violent. Rather, you're seeing large groups of looters who are taking advantage of these pent-up emotions to steal things, to burn things, to destroy businesses.
Yes, and from where I see it, Mark Fisher, that's obviously a reflection of what's the sentiment on ground because of the lockdown. There has been widespread pain, economy-wise, jobs-wise. It's the same in India as well, and one can imagine, that sentiment already brewing in United States, and this is the outlet that we are seeing, and so you see these rioters out on the streets. But otherwise, the protests themselves, are there being centrally organized? Are they largely spontaneous? Help us understand the widespread peaceful protests that we are actually seeing.
Not much in the way of peaceful protests. There have been some in some cities, but primarily what we're seeing now are these late night explosions of fire and violence. They do not seem to be organized. They do not seem to be, these are crowds that come together in a very impromptu, informal way. They gather and they begin sort of random fires in trash cans and storefronts, things like that. We're not seeing this sort of pushback between peaceful protesters and a violent minority that you would see in many urban riot situations. Rather, we're seeing that these crowds are there to make mayhem. And the police in some cities are pushing back rather harshly. In other cities, they're really standing back and letting the protesters do their thing. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of coordinated response by police. No one has settled on a consensus way of calming this down. And there's been no word from President Trump in an effort to bring people together or to calm the protesters.
And how is that being really viewed? The fact that the president hasn't really reached out or made any visible efforts to calm the tempers or quell the protests?
It's a really good question, and we've seen a real paucity of effort by political leadership across the political spectrum. It has been very little effort to communicate with, to connect with the protesters. Although former Vice President Joe Biden, the likely Democratic candidate for president, did go to a protest yesterday in Wilmington, Delaware, his home state, and he actually waded into the crowd, talked with protesters, the kind of scene that you would expect to see from national leaders. We finally saw from Biden yesterday. We've not seen anything like that from President Trump or from people around him. There's been a remarkable lack of that kind of involvement from members of Congress, from governors and mayors. One exception to that was the police chief in Atlanta, who waded into the crowd, spoke with protesters, came to an agreement with a number of them, really connected with them emotionally. And that's the kind of scene you would expect to see from politicians who are seeking to lower the temperature and calm emotions. Unfortunately, there's been precious little of that.
In fact, I was going to ask you about, why police in some of the US states, or there have been instances where they have actually joined the protesters. There was a report from South Texas where police were seen handing out boxes of, pizzas. In California, pictures were taken of them actually joining the peaceful demonstration of people going on a knee. Outside in North Dakota police station, there was photos of police officers actually joining this protest. Is that something that's also visible in other places?
We have seen that, especially in some smaller cities where there seem to be better relationships between the police and minority communities. We've not seen that really in any of the large cities where the fires have been particularly destructive. So there remains an enormous emotional gulf between police and the communities who they police in some of the large had the most trouble with violent protests. So there's a long way to go in many of those large cities. Whether these protests will continue night after night remains to be seen. But at least at this point, we're not seeing the kind of political opening, the kind of pathway toward some sort of conversation that would allow the violence to subside.
Yes, well, we've seen from our past examples which show that President Trump usually has a more confrontational outlook towards these instances. My last question to Mark Fisher is: are there concerns on what kind of impact it's going to have on US's battle against coronavirus? These are times of a pandemic where social distancing is extremely essential. People are advised to stay away from each other and indoors. Is there a concern that this will add to that problem?
There's deep concern that we'll see an enormous spike in the number of virus cases over the coming weeks as the incubation period reveals just how widespread the virus has become among the crowds that have gathered for these protests. In some cities, we've seen that a lot of protesters are wearing masks in Los Angeles, in Minneapolis, but in other cities, we see hardly any masks at all. And people are gathering in very close contact, really violating the whole concept of social distancing. So we are hearing a number of governors across the country warning that we're going to see an enormous spike in the number of cases. These crowds seem not to care about that. If there's any silver lining in this, perhaps it's that there's finally some agreement between the right wing and the left wing. You have people on both sides now who are simply rejecting the advice of scientists and medical officials about social distancing, and we may all pay the price for that in the coming weeks.
All right, Mark Fisher from Washington Post, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Mirror Now and, helping us understand and giving us a deeper insight into the situation in the United States. We hope it improves and the riots that we're actually seeing night after night begin to actually subside and genuine justice that people are seeking there is actually delivered. Thank you so much for joining us. Time for a quick break. Lots more on the other side. One more time, we put the spotlight on coronavirus as India begins to unlock and open up. We ask the crucial question: are our cities ready to handle the spike in cases? Have we utilized this time well enough in building our healthcare infrastructure? Stay with me.